Forget the luxury watch. Forget the sports car. I want you to visualize kind of the opposite of wealth. Picture this person. They drive a 15-year-old Honda. They wear these old flannel shirts, and they kip coupons religiously. To the outside world, they look like they are, at best, a typical retiree.
Maybe even struggling a little.
Right. Maybe even struggling. This is the writer's neighbor, Bob.
And Bob is the perfect setup for our mission today. He really represents this common blind spot we have, you know?
Well, the assumption that what you see is what you get.
Exactly. The assumption that outward displays actually correlate with internal financial reality. We're sort of taught to equate wealth with spending.
Exactly. But here is the pivot point. In the middle of winter, his ancient furnace died. So what did he do? He didn't call 3 contractors for bids. He didn't panic. And he definitely didn't call a loan officer.
Okay.
He had a brand new, top-of-the-line furnace installed the very next morning. And he paid cash, without even a hesitation.
And that quiet confidence, that is the paradox we are unmasking today. True financial security isn't about, performing wealth for others. It's about building this robust internal system of reserves that allows for choice, not necessity.
So the difference between panic and steely souvignon.
That's it. The core difference between those who panic over an unexpected expense and those who just handle it is the depth of their financial cushion.
Okay, let's unpack this. We are diving deep into the world of silent wealth. We've gone through our sources to identify 10 key, non-obvious behavioral and psychological signals that reveal a comfortable cushion in the bank. Our mission is to give you the shortcut to recognizing true financial freedom, focusing entirely on mindset and behavior. Let's start right where we began, with sign number 1. The absence of stress over unexpected expenses. That furnace story isn't just a quirky anecdote. It highlights a psychological state.
It's the core signal. I mean, we saw data from these recovery groups where people were dealing with similar unexpected medical bills, let's say after a knee surgery. And the source noted that some group members were immediately frantic, calling family, setting up rigid payment plans. Their whole focus just shifted to financial survival.
Right, total crisis mode.
Total crisis mode. Meanwhile, others in the exact same boat just sort of nodded, accepted the bill, and immediately pivoted back to discussing their physical therapy exercises. The cost was annoying for sure, but it was just a logistical step for them.
That shift from anxiety to annoyance is key, isn't it?
It is. When you lack reserves, an unexpected cost, a new transmission, a burst pipe, it triggers a deep emotional response. It threatens your whole survival calculation. But when you have security, that cost is merely a tax on your time. It just requires a phone call and paying an invoice. It removes what psychologists call the financial cognitive load.
Boy.
The financial cognitive load. It's that exhausting mental energy you spend just worrying about making ends meet.
Okay, so if financial security removes the panic of a crisis, it naturally leads to our next point, which is more about prevention than reaction. And this is reflected in sign number 8, maintaining older items in excellent condition.
This is so crucial because it contrasts with those visible spending habits. People who are stretching their budgets often buy newer, cheaper items they can't afford to maintain properly, so they fall apart faster, and they're in this constant cycle of replacement. That is expensive in the long run.
But the truly wealthy, the silent wealthy, they understand the long-term value of upkeep. Think about those immaculately kept 50-year-old homes in certain neighborhoods. The original hardwood floors look pristine. Not because they were replaced, but because they were consistently maintained.
Exactly. It's the difference between, say, skipping your car's scheduled oil change because you can't spare the $100 this month, and consistently investing in that prevention, making sure your car lasts 20 years. Wealth buys the ability to make small, consistent investments in quality maintenance. It signals an understanding of the true cost of ownership.
And this commitment to owning and maintaining rather than financing and replacing. Well, that leads us to sign number 5. They own rather than finance. The writer's experience working in insurance claims highlighted a really clear trend here. The people who consistently had a strong financial foundation, they owned their assets outright.
We're talking about paid-off cars, furniture not on some installment plan, no floating credit card debt on, day-to-day stuff. They might drive something older, like that 20-year-old beat-up truck the guitar teacher drove, but the title was in their hands, free and clear.
That beat-up truck represents what we can call the certainty premium. The driver doesn't have the stress of a monthly payment, and more importantly, they're completely insulated from rising interest rates or a sudden job loss.
Right. Contrast that with colleagues driving luxury cars they couldn't truly afford, burdened by heavy financing. They had the appearance of wealth, but the anxiety of those constant payments. The silent wealthy are optimizing for stability and peace.
So, now that we've discussed how they manage crises and assets, let's pivot to the really fascinating psychological side of this. How they choose to spend, and maybe more importantly, not spend. Here's where the data shows a truly interesting pivot point.
This takes us directly to sign number 9. They are completely unimpressed by status symbols. The need to broadcast success usually stems from insecurity, right? Or a desire for external validation. When you have substantial reserves, that impulse just evaporates.
The ultimate luxury is caring 0% about what strangers think of your possessions.
Yeah.
I mean, the writer talked about meeting the wealthiest person they knew, a woman who built a major regional business. She drove a sensible car, carried a plain canvas tote bag,
Oh, wow.
and wore no jewelry besides her wedding ring. She wasn't trying to look poor. She just had zero need to perform well for others.
And that lack of financial performance, that allows them to be incredibly discerning with their spending. This flows right into sign number 2, incredibly selective splurging. They often appear cheap in areas that don't matter to them precisely because they reserve their capital for areas that do align with their deepest values.
But how do we distinguish that from just, being stingy?
The difference is in the scale and the purpose. Stingy people just avoid spending, period. The silent wealthy engage in what you could call a calculated deployment of capital. They're making very intentional trade-offs.
We see this so vividly in the anecdotes, like the son-in-law's father who wears shoes with holes, but dropped a massive fortune on top-tier education for his kids.
Yes, or the library volunteer who drives a basic utilitarian sedan but takes her grandchildren on these incredible once-in-a-lifetime international trips every summer.
So they're not cheap.
No, they are highly prioritized. Their money serves their fulfillment, not their ego. For the woodworking teacher, he shops at thrift stores for clothes, but owns the finest tools money can buy, because his craft is his passion. That is the definition of value-driven spending.
And that psychological security, knowing they don't have to perform, that enables sign number 7. Comfortable saying no without elaborate excuses.
This is a subtle but a very powerful tell. When you're financially constrained, saying no to an expensive dinner invitation requires this complex narrative. Oh, the schedule is tight, or we have family coming in. You feel you have to hide the financial reason behind a social excuse.
But the financially secure person, they just exercise their choice. I'll pass this time, or that's not really my thing. They don't feel the need to perform capability or justify their decision.
Yeah.
Their no is just final, confident, and free of guilt.
And if we connect these pieces, the low cognitive load, the ownership premium, the rejection of status, we see the ability to plan with supreme confidence. This brings us to sign number 3, talking about long-term plans with certainty.
That language difference is stark. The writer overheard conversations in a cafe. Those struggling financially use hypotheticals. Maybe we could start saving if the economy improves. Or, if things work out, we might take a trip next year. It's all characterized by this external dependence.
Exactly. But the language of silent wealth is characterized by internal certainty. Timelines. When we retire in 5 years, we will sell the house and move south. Or, after we finish the kitchen renovation next spring, we'll start the garden. Their plans are calm, funded, and often already accounted for.
There's a confidence there, because the math has been done and the resources have been secured. They aren't hoping, they're executing.
And this certainty, it frees up massive amounts of mental capacity, which leads to sign number 6, time and energy for hobbies and interests. We talked about how financial stress is exhausting. It makes complex hobbies feel like an unjustifiable luxury.
Oh, for sure. If you're constantly calculating how to pay the electric bill, you simply do not have the emotional bandwidth left over for learning a second language or mastering a complex skill.
But people with solid finances have engaged minds. Remember neighbor Bob? He doesn't just play chess. He's in a serious hiking group. He volunteers several days a week at the animal shelter, and he recently started photography. That varied high-engagement activity signals they aren't spending their day consumed by the basic survival framework of making ends meet. They've optimized their finances to free up their time and cognitive energy for fulfillment.
This optimization for fulfillment culminates beautifully in sign number 10, which I think this is the biggest tell of all. Decisions based on quality of life, not merely cost.
This is the ultimate privilege enabled by security. They have the ability to trade marginal income for maximal happiness. They might take a lower paying job because it aligns perfectly with their mission, or move to a smaller, quiet town simply because they prefer the pace of life.
Right, even if the job market is slimmer. The writer specifically mentioned making $0 from writing for the first 2 years after retirement. But continuing, because they absolutely love the process. That choice to prioritize passion and health, maybe spending more on organic food or traveling during shoulder season over chasing maximum income, is the definitive mark of financial security.
When you hear someone actively making life decisions based on an optimization framework for fulfillment and well-being rather than a survival framework for income, you can be pretty sure a deep financial foundation is underneath those choices.
And circling back to the whole ethos of silent wealth,
Mhm.
this deep security allows for a certain kind of behavior that doesn't seek recognition, which is sign number 4. They're generous in quiet, consistent ways.
Yes. Flashy contributions, the ones announced publicly, they often seek social validation. But real, stable support comes from a different place. It's the reliable, steady contribution from those who just believe in the cause or the person.
Like the poker buddy, who looks like he shops at discount stores, but has been sponsoring 3 kids through an education program for over a decade. The writer only found this out by accident, which just emphasizes that quiet, consistent nature of the giving.
Real wealth allows for sustained generosity. It's not a one-time splashy donation. It's the ability to consistently support family, pick up a large check for friends, or fund a cause year after year without needing to recalculate if the personal budget can take the hit. It's consistency rooted in certainty.
So if we pull all 10 of these threads together, what is the central synthesizing takeaway?
I think the synthesis is simple. Freedom.
Mm-hmm.
Financial security doesn't just buy assets, it fundamentally buys the freedom to make choices based on your values, your fulfillment, and your desired quality of life. Rather than being dictated by fear or debt or the need for external validation, it removes the need for financial performance.
And the great paradox we started with is our final realization. To achieve this freedom, you often have to actively live below your means, skip the status symbols, and build quietly. You have to intentionally choose to look exactly like you don't have money so that you can acquire the freedom that only true security provides.
So what does this all mean for you? Next time you find yourself tempted to judge someone's financial situation by the age of their car or the brand of their clothes, remember that appearances are designed to deceive. The real wealth is silent, humble, and steady.
The final question for you to mull over. Which behaviors in your own life are signaling value-driven freedom, your fulfillment optimization, versus behaviors that are signaling fear-driven necessity? Are you choosing your next move based on genuine desire, or are your reserves still dictating your survival? We'll do a deep dive on that one.